The Nintendo Switch has been a very complicated and difficult thing to hack or homebrew. Over the years, you've had to have things, paper clips, little jigs, and it was constantly in some state of not working, or you needed a certain release version of the Switch, and overall, it's just not very easy to do in general for the Nintendo Switch. I'm sure one day in the future it'll be dummy easy to hack. But at the moment, there hasn't been a very easy to for people to do method to hacking or just putting their own games onto this Nintendo Switch in general. And what makes this most recent news so interesting and exciting. I don't know if you guys remember the R4 cartridges from back in the day for the Nintendo DS and 3DS. These cartridges sort of functioned like an ST to Vita adapter, somewhat. It was basically a Nintendo DS cartridge that you would put a micro SD card into, or full size, I don't exactly remember. I never personally owned one of the ones on the DS. I had the 3DS models. And you would plug that in to the DS, and then you would play it like a normal game, and it'd have a menu system that you can upload, where you can play all your uploaded games and emulators to. It was a fairly easy to set up thing, and they had multiple different models. They functioned very simply, and it was very easy to set up for most people to do. And they got so prolific that there's been so many different variants, so many different companies making these things, and they were really cheap to get your hands on. Except the 3DS ones, those were kind of expensive for in the early days. And compare that to the ST to Vita, where it requires you to have hacked your Vita for it to work. But once you get it hacked, it acts like a new storage. Which this new Nintendo Switch news that I have up on screen now from on Twitter, it shows a new sort of cartridge adapter for the Nintendo Switch to basically have a sort of ST to Vita mixed with an R4 cartridge sort of system, where you plug this cartridge in it has a micro SD card in it, and you can just upload all your games to it. And by, for some reason, putting the cartridge in and taking it out, putting it back in, taking it back out, starts loading all the games individually. And there's footage of it on screen now of it being able to play the games. This is humongous news. There's a new method, and it says these are going to be released sometime in January, which is fucking insane. It makes sense when you announce something like this so soon to release, because the moment you announce this like a year in advance, Nintendo's lawyers and the Nintendo ninjas are going to be after you. You're going to fucking be dead in hours after making that kind of announcement. But since this is so close to release, there's very little Nintendo can do about stopping this. And this primarily opens the gateways into other forms of hacking the Nintendo Switch. The moment you find a way to upload your own data to the Switch, that just opens the floodgates to all forms of chicanery that you could think of. For me, very illegal. Piracy is the first thing that comes to mind. The moment something like this comes out, Nintendo Switch piracy is going to skyrocket. You were able to download Scarlet and Violet and Mario Wonder weeks ahead of their release due to some massive leaks that have happened before those game releases. And just think of the disaster this could have been if this released 2 years into the Switch's life. It would have been disastrous for the Switch. But it coming out to the end of the life, one, means Nintendo can do very little in terms of hardware locks on it, because the new device is coming out, and if it uses backwards compatibility, that would be even crazier if you can put this new sort of hacked ST to Vita fucking R4 cartridge for the Switch into the Switch 2. That's going to be even more insane. But back to the implications this has on the current Switch model, from what the video shows, you can put any game on it, and you should be able to upload basically anything, theoretically, assuming there's support. It's a supported piece of software. This is truly Nintendo's worst nightmare. The Nintendo Switch could have had a very much long life, long after it's no longer Nintendo's main console, just in the software sales alone. I remember I was buying games on my 3DS digitally long after Nintendo stopped selling them physically. And this is the first time in a very long time a mainstream, a company's dedicated handheld or dedicated device in general was so vulnerable. Sure, you could have hacked 3DSs and Vitas and stuff in the past, and GameCubes and Wii's are just cracked open to all hell nowadays, but you've never seen, like, the Xbox 360 has a massive problem with piracy. You never really saw the PS3 or something like the Xbox One or PS4, any relatively modern consoles having any problems with piracy, really. And Nintendo has successfully evaded this problem for the most part on their more recent consoles. But this is a massive vulnerability that is inherently unfixable due to just the sheer fact that you need to be able to use the cartridge slot to put games in. So unless they fundamentally change how the cartridge slot works, it's simply probably a problem that Nintendo won't be able to fix easily. And this isn't accounting for maybe some sort of software fix Nintendo could do to prevent these from working, but the likelihood of the development of workarounds through that already probably exists in these companies who are releasing these kinds of products. And this sort of just opens Pandora's box for all the potential software stuff you could do to your Nintendo Switch going forward. Like, I see the Nintendo Switch as sort of like a PS Vita situation, where if you have to hack the Switch already to get this thing to work, this is simply kind of dumb. It's really interesting and really exciting, but if you have to have your Switch hacked before you can use these sort of, Switch SD card adapter things, it simply kind of won't be worth it for most people to do. But from the video and the tweet, it's not 100% clear whether or not you need to have a hacked Switch or not, but I feel like it's fairly reasonable to assume you don't have to, and that it's using some sort of logic or some sort of code or some sort of like circuitry inside the actual adapter itself that is tricking the Switch into thinking that these are all individual games. It looks like a really janky setup, and I'm sure as the months and as the year goes on next year, we'll see far more sophisticated, less sort of janky styles of doing this. And it's just so exciting to see this development in terms of for the Switch, because I've always preferred playing games on the original hardware when, available. So being able to play Switch games on the Switch, which would provide the best experience for these kinds of games, is just the best thing for me and for most people. Because the best way to play 3DS games is on a 3DS. The best way to play Vita games is on a Vita. And the ability to hack each of those devices and to upload your own games, upload your saves and all that to them is so much better than playing, Gravity Rush on a PC, which I believe that game is actually on PC, but that was a bad example. But you get what I'm saying. Like, it's not fun playing Pokemon X and Y on an emulator on your computer than playing it on an actual 3DS that it feels at home on. And playing Super Mario Wonder on the Steam Deck is great. It runs very well, and it's like a very fun experience. It's just not the same as playing it on a Nintendo handheld. And so for people like me who like playing on original hardware, this is a massive boon. If it works as I hope it does, this sort of cartridge adapter changes everything. Like, I haven't exclusively purchased all my Nintendo Switch games on my Nintendo Switch. I may have played some games only through an emulator, allegedly, and so this gives me a whole new incentive to pick up my Switch again instead of getting my Steam Deck. If this cartridge adapter truly does come out in this January, it's all the more reason for me to start playing my Nintendo Switch again. It radically is going to change my entire gaming life. I'm going to have to take both of these things with me everywhere I go. It's just an astronomical change for the Nintendo Switch community that I'm surprised I don't see a lot more people talking about this. And truly such exciting news and development for this, simple little adapter thing could be the gateway into so many new advancements in the homebrewing community. And this is Nintendo's worst nightmare. Nintendo will have to figure something out to prevent this, and I hope to God they physically can't because of the nature of how the Nintendo Switch works. What are your thoughts on this adapter? I'd love to hear them down below. This is such crazy and amazing news. I'm so excited. Believe you me, I will have one of these things in hand when they come out. I will get one as soon as they are available to make a bunch of videos about it. I would love to hear your thoughts, comments, and questions down below. As always, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All the other social media garbage down below. And last but not least, have a wonderful day. Hope you had a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.